Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk to you about how to optimize your setup for video editing. Hopefully this video will help you be more comfortable while editing, but also improve your efficiency. This is in no particular order of importance. I'm just talking about stuff that I think is important. Do you need multiple monitors? And how many monitors do you need? I'm someone who's done a lot of work on a single small monitor. I've had two giant 27-inch monitors, and today I only use a single 27-inch monitor. Sometimes it's about using what you have in smarter ways rather than just adding more and more and more. So does size matter? Not really. Personally, I wouldn't go under 21 inches and also wouldn't go above 27 inches. For me, 24 or 25 inches would be the sweet spot. For example, this monitor, I used to use it before, but right now I'm using M27Q from Gigabyte. I know it's primarily a gaming monitor, but there are some advantages which I really like about it. Which brings me to another point, which is refresh rate. Monitors with 60 Hz refresh rate are fine at best. But once you try high refresh rate monitors, you can never go back. High refresh rate isn't just for FPS gaming. It will make your day-to-day use so much more comfortable, especially for someone who's sitting and looking at a monitor for hours every single day. So aside from my main monitor, I also have this Waveshare monitor. I'm not sure which model it is, but I've calibrated it and now it's on par with an iPad display. It's always a good idea to check how your edit looks not just on your main monitor, but on other devices such as tablets or phones. Okay, so that's for the monitor. What about a computer? You don't need a beastly computer to edit videos. This used to be a problem back in the day, maybe 2018 or earlier, but at this point you can get a really good editing PC on a budget. If you're really on a budget, I was just buying a laptop with at least an i5 processor or a Ryzen 5 with an NVIDIA GPU. And I'll say SSD is a must. I have edited videos on really old computers, on brand new computers, different kinds of laptops, and I'll say the experience is obviously better the better your computer is. But even if you can't afford something that's high-end, you can definitely make it work. Keyboards. First of all, don't trust Terran. You don't need 25 different keyboards and buttons and numpads for your editing. And with that in mind, I would suggest you get a one-handed keyboard. So these right here are my peripherals. Everything is Red Dragon. No particular reason, honestly. That was what was available at the time for purchase. But this one-handed keyboard right here is the star of the show. It allows me to have better posture while editing. And it also comes with a couple of extra buttons on the side, which you can see right here, which gracefully leads me to my next point. Macros. Macro keys can really be a time saver when video editing. So for example, in my case, I bound the G2 button to enter. G3 button is mapped to lowering audio by 4 decibels. G4 button just nests a sequence in the timeline. And G5 opens effect search in Premiere. Another point. Don't go crazy on your macros. You don't need a macro for everything. Except for Terran. Figure out what are the most important actions that you perform regularly. Set up macros for those. Don't overcomplicate things. And how can we talk about macros without talking about shortcuts? And again, I want to emphasize the point that you want all the important actions to be as close as possible. Now here is how I edit. My right hand spends most of its time on my mouse, and my left hand spends most of its time on the one-handed keyboard. Making cuts is one of the most common actions you're going to perform while editing, so I mapped it to S. Undo is also something that you're going to be doing all the time, so I have it mapped to W. So I can perform 100 different actions with barely moving my hand, which makes my workflow much more efficient. And don't be afraid to go out of the norm with some wacky keyboard shortcuts, so long as it's more comfortable for you. Now let's look at my monitor. Usually you would have Premiere Pro full screen, and if you needed something from a folder, for example, you would have to bring up the folder, drag something into Premiere, and that folder disappears. Now if you need another thing, you need to open up the folder again and drag stuff again. Wouldn't it be nice if we just had a folder open at all times? So I would suggest you look into Windows Power Toys. It's like this little app for Windows with a whole bunch of different functionality built into it. But right now we're interested in one called Fancy Zones. It lets you split up your screen in customized sections, and then you can have different windows fill up those sections. So in my case, I have Premiere Pro in the top big section, and I usually open up 2 folders on the bottom like this. This lets me have my sound effects on the left and all of the other files that I may need for the project on the right. And in Premiere Pro, we know we can customize workspaces by moving and rearranging panels around. For me, switching workspaces is pretty slow, so I have all of my essential panels open up already. Right there. Program Monitor in the middle, Essential Graphics, Lumetri Color, Essential Sound on the right with my audio meter, and on the left we have Effect Controls, Text, Markers, and Audio Track Mixer. And down at the bottom we have my Source Monitor, my Project Panel, Effects Panel, timeline, and then tools bar. But I use a completely different workspace when I'm editing on my laptop since the screen is much smaller. So you just need to think and experiment and figure out what's best for your monitor and your use case. And one last thing, I think you're probably already doing this, but still, make and use presets, be it effects presets, exporting presets, importing presets, and I mean like project templates, use it. And if you work with animated titles and graphics a lot, also look into using Mogarts. I hope some of these tips helped you, and bye.